All right, today we're going to break down an absolute masterclass in comic chaos. James Thurber's classic short story, The Night the Ghost Got In. It's a perfect look at how one little tiny sound can trigger an avalanche of misunderstanding and just complete pandemonium. And Thurber, he just throws you right into the deep end. I mean, look at this opening line. He doesn't waste a single word. He basically gives you the entire wild ride of the story in one sentence. You've got a ghost, and it ends with a patrolman getting shot. So the big question is, how on earth do you get from that to that? Well, that's where all the fun is.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's late, November 17th, 1915, to be exact. The whole house is quiet, dead silent. And then, suddenly it's not.
So our narrator, he's just gotten out of the bath, and that's when he hears it. And it's not just some random creak, It's a really specific sound, like footsteps, a man's footsteps, walking fast, rhythmically, just circling the dining room table downstairs. At first, he's not thinking ghost. He figures, oh, it's probably my dad or my brother. But it just keeps going. And the longer it goes on, the weirder it gets.
And this is where we meet our key players. Think of them as the perfect storm of personalities just waiting to create a disaster. You've got the narrator, who we've met. Then there's his brother Herman, who's a bit on the anxious side. You've got their mother, who's, let's say, very decisive. And then the wild card, grandfather, up in the attic. And let's just say his internal clock is not set to 1915.
So he goes and wakes up his brother Herman. They listen together. And sure enough, the steps start again. But this time, oh man, this time it's not walking, it's running. Heavy footsteps, coming up the stairs, two at a time, right at them. They can't see a thing, but they can hear it all. And in a moment of just pure panic, they both do the only thing they can think of. They slam their bedroom doors shut. And that slam, that's really the first domino to fall in a whole night of craziness. Now those slamming doors, they wake up the next person in our little drama, Mom. And her reaction, well, this is what takes a spooky little moment and turns it into a full-blown 5-alarm crisis.
She hears all this commotion, and her brain doesn't go to ghost. No way. It jumps straight to the most dramatic and, completely wrong conclusion, burglars. In her head, the house is swarming with bad guys, and she knows she has to do something right now. It's just perfect character writing because her over-the-top reaction is the fuel this fire needed. And the way her mind works is just brilliantly chaotic. Okay, so the phone's downstairs where the burglars are. Can't use that. So what's plan B? Well, obviously, you grab a shoe, open your window, and just hurl it right through your neighbor's window. I mean, it's completely nuts, right? But hey, you can't argue with the results. Help is definitely on the way now. So thanks to Mom's unconventional neighborhood watch program, the cops show up. And they don't just send one guy. They show up in force. They're thinking this is a serious major league home invasion in progress. And it all happens so fast. 1 minute, it's a quiet street. The next, it's flooded with a Ford sedan, motorcycles, a patrol wagon, the whole shebang. They're not knocking. They're not asking questions. They just ram the front door, and with this huge crush of wood and glass, they're in. So in the span of just a few minutes, we've gone from a maybe ghost to a full-on police raid. So the cops storm the place, flashlights everywhere, ready for anything, and they find zip. Nada. No burglars, no forced entry. In fact, all the windows and doors are locked up tight from the inside. All they see is this totally baffled family, and of course, our narrator, who's still just standing there in a bath towel. You can imagine that doesn't really scream credible witness. So they start searching the house, looking for any clue at all. And one of the cops, he finds something. Tucked away on a shelf, this weird-looking musical instrument, a zither. The cop's like, "What's this thing?" And the narrator, without missing a beat, gives him the absolute 100% honest truth, which also happens to be the most insane-sounding answer possible. He says, "Oh, that's just an old zither our guinea pig used to sleep on." Can you just picture the cop's face? This kid, in a towel, in a house with burglars, is now telling him about his guinea pig's musical bed. The suspicion level just went through the roof. Okay, so the cops are pretty much ready to pack it in. They're thinking this is just some big, weird prank. But then they hear a creak from upstairs, and they're like, aha, finally. They think they've got their guy hiding in the attic. So a whole squad of them, like 5 or 6 cops, they thunder at the stairs towards the attic door.
Now, what these poor cops have no way of knowing is that grandfather is, well, he's not all there. He's been having this recurring thing, or he thinks he's back in the Civil War. He's convinced that General Meade's army is fighting off deserters. So when a bunch of men in uniforms suddenly burst into his room, he doesn't see police officers. He sees a bunch of cowardly deserters running from the fight. And so he does what any Civil War general would do. He jumps out of bed, wearing this crazy combo of a nightgown and an old leather jacket, and just starts roaring at them. The cops are just frozen. They have no clue what is happening.
And before anyone can even blink, grandfather smacks one of the cops, actually grabs the guy's own pistol right out of his holster and starts shooting. Bang, smoke fills the room. One of the cops gets hit in the shoulder, and the rest of the deserters, they scramble out of there as fast as they can, slamming the attic door behind them. Okay, so now this isn't just a funny misunderstanding anymore. This is genuinely dangerous. All right, so grandfather is now locked in the attic. The night's excitement is finally starting to die down. The police are left trying to patch up their wounded officer and, more importantly, trying to figure out what in the world just happened. And they are just completely baffled. One of them says he doesn't like the layout of the whole thing. It all feels off, phony. You've got a frantic mother, a son in a towel talking about guinea pigs, and now a grandpa in the attic who's shooting at them and thinks he's in the Civil War. None of it makes any sense.
Then a reporter who showed up pulls our narrator aside. He's like, "Come on, bud, what's the real story here?" And the narrator, at this point, he just decides to tell the honest-to-goodness truth. He looks the reporter dead in the eye and says, "We had ghosts." And the reporter, he just stares, doesn't say a word, turns around and walks away. Because sometimes the actual truth is the last thing anyone will ever believe.
So flash forward to the next morning. Grandfather comes down to breakfast, totally cheerful, not a care in the world. He starts complaining about all those cops Terry hooting around all night. And then he casually mentions that he'd been down there looking for water and no one had bothered to leave a bottle beside his bed. And there you have it, the big reveal. The ghosts, the mysterious footsteps, the running up the stairs. It was grandfather the whole time. All that chaos, the broken door, the smashed window, the gunshot, it all started because an old man was thirsty. And that, right there, is the absolute genius of James Thurber. It's this perfect storm of quirky characters, one misunderstanding after another, and things just escalating completely out of control. It just goes to show how a family can create an absolute catastrophe out of basically nothing at all.